What is happening, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and we all just finished watching Microsoft Xbox Games Showcase, debuting all sorts of exciting Xbox Series X things. Obviously, the big thing we were all looking forward to was the first reveal of gameplay for Halo Infinite, which we did get, and then we've got quite a few other things to go over. And I want to discuss the show, some of what I think we can take away from it, some of what I think is really strange about what Microsoft seems to be doing, how does it compare to what Sony's doing, and just the whole thing. There's a lot to talk about, and I've got some opinions. So I don't have too much time before I actually have to start working for the day to be able to make and record and edit this video. So I will say that at the end of the day, I think that overall, the Xbox Game Showcase was good. I think it was just good, like even keel, base level. It was a fine show. I do not think, and I don't want to get too much into the console war aspect of things, it's none of that kind of stuff, but I will say, if I was to compare it to Sony's show, I don't think that it was as good or had as much of an impact as Sony's show had. I think that for sure, Sony overall did a much, much better job. When it comes to Microsoft, they did still show us a lot of games today, and that's great. In fact, they showed us a lot of games from their new studios that they've been purchasing and their first-party stuff. And I think that that was really exciting because we know that that's something that Microsoft needed to do. I still don't think that it felt like a first-party games show. They didn't really put forth enough to show us that this is all stuff that's exclusive to the Xbox because, to be honest, a lot of what they showed isn't exclusive to the Xbox. So they're still kind of having that problem. But I still think we saw a lot of good games. We did see way too much CG today still. We are still having the CG trailer problem, and it's driving me crazy 5 months before new consoles launch, but whatever, that's just where we are. We did see some other gameplay, though, for some stuff that looks very exciting, and then, of course, they ended with a pretty big reveal. Obviously, the big thing we have to talk about is Halo Infinite, and I'm going to be real with you guys. I think it looks awesome. It absolutely delivered to me. It looks fantastic. I know that some people want to get into a conversation about how, it looks like a current-gen game. It doesn't look as amazing as I was expecting it to look after all this time. And all this kind of stuff. And I guess I just don't see things that way for a few reasons. One of them is we basically know that with what Microsoft has been saying, that there's going to be no Xbox Series X exclusive games for the first year or two, they're basically telling us, and this is unfortunate, this is something Microsoft I think is doing wrong here, okay? But since we know that it is to be a fact, that's telling us that basically everything launching on the Xbox Series X for the first year or two is basically Xbox One games. They have to be Xbox One games that, to be fair, are getting, enhancements. I think they're saying Xbox Series X enhanced or optimized for Series X or whatever that little branding is. They're basically telling us that a lot of Xbox One games will be playable on the Series X, and a lot of them will have some sort of visual or graphical or frame rate enhancements when they're played on an Xbox Series X. And so that being like a base level truth means every game, including Halo Infinite, is just an Xbox One game. And it's going to look and run a little bit better on the Series X, and it's going to have some better frame rates and, I don't know, maybe better textures and lighting. We're not sure yet. But at the end of the day, it's an Xbox One game, you guys. Is it unfortunate? In one degree, yes. But at the end of the day, it's a new Halo. So does it matter? To me, it really doesn't matter. And that brings me to the other reason why I think I don't see it the way other people do. And that's because at the end of the day, it is still Halo. And so being a Halo game means it has to look like Halo. And honestly, what we saw is just the best looking and best playing and best running version of a Halo game to date. It's not like just because it's been so long since Halo 5 that suddenly a new Halo game is going to look not like Halo. Like, that's not how game series work. In fact, I'm taking that same mindset into Metroid Prime 4, for example. Like, sequels to game series still have to look like the game series they represent, right? So this wasn't going to look like something that isn't Halo. it's still Halo, even if it's Halo 6, Halo Infinite. And I think that people get lost in that kind of stuff and they build up something completely inaccurate in their own heads about what they expect a game to look like, that they forget it's a sequel to 5 other games that all pretty much look the same, only incrementally better. This is just the 6th version of that. Well, 7th version if you look at like Halo Reach, for example, and throw that into the ring. And so I guess when I see what I see, it still looks beautiful, even though, yes, it maybe doesn't look super next gen. It looks gorgeous. You can tell the combat and the pace and the rhythm to gameplay is vastly improved. It feels, I shouldn't say it feels because I haven't played it, but the way it looked and sounded like it felt like the way bullets were impacting your enemies and the way the hit detection was with combat, it just felt and looked a lot better. And so, I don't know. I'm into the grappling hook thing. I love what they're doing. I love Halo. I think Infinite looked spectacular. Obviously, the other big thing that they showed was the confirmation of a new Fable game at the very end of the show. That was very exciting. There were plenty of rumors the last couple of weeks about Fable, and plenty of people asking for Fable for the last probably 2 or 3 years. So showing that a new Fable game is in the works is very exciting, and it is something that we have been waiting for a while. And what I really liked about it is that even though we can't tell anything because it was just, a 30-second CG thing that was nothing but a trailer, that in most instances would be frustrating, I do have to say that the vibe I'm getting from it is that it's going to be a return to like traditional Fable. They're not going to do this Fable Legends multiplayer thing, that game that like never came out, that was like not what anyone really wanted. It's like, just give us a story-based game. Just give us a regular Fable RPG action story game. That's what I think they're doing with this. Again, I could be wrong. We don't know that. I just feel like their delivery of that trailer showed me that they knew what people wanted. They knew that the Fable multiplayer thing was a big mistake for them to even try. And so they're like, hey, we get you, we hear you, we know what you want. Here's just a new regular Fable. On top of that, they showed a bevy of other games, some of them not exciting because they were CG things. Plenty of them were multi-platform. They did the whole console launch exclusive nonsense that they were raked over the coals for a couple of years ago. No one likes that verbiage. No one understands it. They've never been crystal clear about what it means. It seems to mean that it's just launching on the Xbox first, but then coming to other consoles later, which means it's not really an exclusive, and so it's very annoying. And I can't believe that they started doing that again. Microsoft, what the hell are you thinking with that? But outside of that, they did show some less impressive trailers for things, but they had a couple of really exciting highlights too. For me, the big ones were the new Rare game, Everwild, which I'm very excited to see Rare making another game, a new game. It doesn't seem to be a Sea of Thieves nonsense multiplayer thing. I love the art style. I mean, we don't really know about the game, to be fair, but I just love what I'm seeing, and it seemed like it was in-engine stuff. I like what it showed us, and so I'm very excited to see a new game from Rare. I know we all wanted a new Banjo-Kazooie, and yes, that would be great. But you guys, new games, man. Sequels are great, but we need new games and new ideas just as often, if not more often, than sequels. And so it's great to see Rare making something brand new. I applaud them for it. I don't care that there was no Banjo-Kazooie. I'm glad for a brand new game from Rare. Also, one of the big highlights for me, probably the biggest outside of Halo, was the Medium, which, as I said on Twitter about this, to me absolutely looks like a spiritual successor to Silent Hill, which I am so in love with because I adore Silent Hill, and that series has just died a horrible death, and now is reduced to dumb multiplayer content in Dead by Daylight. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. No one wants that stupid stuff. We want a real Silent Hill game. We're not getting that, and so here comes the Medium, which is this dual world thing where like you're this like detective girl who can like shift between dimensions, and they're like, we're rendering 2 game worlds at the same time or something like. So it's still confusing, but very exciting looking. I love that we saw a lot of gameplay from that game. So bring on the Medium. That looked amazing. There was also this cool action platformer game called The Gunk that was shown that looked very beautiful, really unique and inventive, and just super cool. Lots of stuff from Obsidian today. They seem to be making their version of an Elder Scrolls game. They're adding new content to the Outer Worlds. They have this Grounded game, which is like some weird, I don't know, multiplayer Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game that looks fine, I guess. And then plenty of other things. I mean, nothing else that really stood out to me. It was just a bunch of other games. Some looked okay. Some were too much, were CG. Some of them looked pretty good. And it's just, at the end of the day, that was the Xbox show. And so, like I already said, I think the show was just fine. I would, as I also said on Twitter, it's like a B- for me. Mostly because I think Halo Infinite looked so great, and it is a game coming this year, by the way. And to have them confirm a new Fable game, even without showing us to us, was a pretty big deal, and it's certainly very exciting. And then those other games that I'm really excited for, Everwild and The Medium, and the Gunk. I mean, it's like, I had about 5 or 6 games. Psychonauts 2 was shown, by the way, looks very good. There really was 5, 6, 7 games that I'm very excited for out of that show. Now, here's a couple of things we have to talk about. One is we're still not seeing anything that looks very next-gen from the Xbox Series X. And honestly, in some ways, from the PS5 also, to be fair. I mean, some stuff looks quite a bit better, but we're not seeing anything that's like, shaking us to our core visually just yet. And I think when it comes to the Xbox, the big thing is what I already mentioned in this video, the fact that they're being really weird and not forthcoming about their plans for the Series X and the whole ecosystem there. They're dropping us hints, but nothing that makes a lot of sense. And so it's just pretty obvious that everything we're playing on the Series X is going to be Xbox One games, that some of them will have slight visual enhancements on the Series X. And the smart delivery thing means that's what you're going to do. We're going to buy, when we buy Halo this year, for example, you guys, we're going to buy an Xbox One video game called Halo Infinite. And as soon as we put that into our Series X, or if you download it on your digital copy or whatever on your Series X, that's when the smart delivery should kick in. And it's like, oh, here's your Xbox One Halo, and now we're going to add slightly better graphics. Here's your Series X version. That's what we're going to be doing with Halo Infinite and basically every game for the first year or two for the Series X. And so because of that, all we're seeing in these showcases, these Xbox showcases, and again, kind of the PlayStation showcase, but mostly Xbox, is we're seeing just current-gen games. We are seeing current-gen games. Some of them will look better on the next gen. And that's unfortunate in a lot of ways, obviously. We want to know that we're getting the actual, next-gen stuff. Like, if we're going to start with next-gen hardware, let's start with games that are next-gen. And this generation seems like it might not really be doing that. So that's one weird thing. The other thing is still being confused on the overall business model and plan for the Xbox Series X. We still don't know, we don't know prices or release dates for any console. PS5, Xbox Series X, is there any truth to the Lockhart or the Series X or anything that's happening there? We still don't know for sure, although plenty of people seem to believe that that is what's actually happening. We still don't know what's going on with that stuff, so the Xbox ecosystem is strange. What's up with the Game Pass? How much is Game Pass and xCloud going to become something that becomes ubiquitous, where we're experiencing Xbox games like maybe on every device, including Nintendo and Sony devices? There's been conversations about what they're doing there. The console launch exclusive thing comes in, so is that changing how we're playing games and what the ecosystem is? And then again, I'll go back to the no exclusive Series X games for the first year. Everything that they're doing between Game Pass and xCloud and smart delivery and the no exclusive Series X games optimized for Xbox Series X, it's all very confusing, at least to me. And it seems like most other people are confused as well. Maybe you understand it, but as far as I can tell, they haven't given us any concrete info. We still don't really know what they're doing. And it is frustrating because it's like, I understand that, technology is advancing, the industry is changing, consoles are trying to be more and more like PCs nowadays, and so everything has to get more convoluted and weird with things like Stadia and xCloud and streaming and, PC components. But it's like, it doesn't have to be that convoluted. Part of what the appeal to console gaming is the simplicity. Here's your box, it does one thing, plug it into your TV, put your game in, and just play the damn thing. And it's just going to be fine every time you play. But this next generation might start to make things as weird and confusing and PC-like as we've been fearing for years now. And I'm not saying, I like PC gaming. I'm not dissing PC gaming. I'm just saying I like the world separate. Console gaming I want for the console experience, PC gaming I want for the PC experience. And I don't like the idea of consoles trying to blend the two. To me, it's just not appealing, and it makes things weird, like what I'm talking about. Xbox One X, Series X Enhanced, Project X Cloud, console launch exclusive, what the hell are you doing with all this stuff? It's just all very, very strange. Smart delivery, this and that. And while we don't yet know the details, it just seems messy, and I find that to be pretty unfortunate. But hey, at the end of the day, I just want everything to come out and to be great. I want the Xbox Series X to be awesome and next gen and make me enjoy the video games I have to play. I want the same for the PlayStation 5. Nintendo, who knows when they're going to do new hardware? I think 2022, but we have to wait and see. So this is where we are now. Still, Sony and Microsoft are playing chicken. They're not giving us release dates, they're not giving us prices, and Microsoft is not yet confirming if there's other versions of the Xbox out there, nor are they really truly confirming what their ecosystem is like. So both companies are still playing a little too mysterious and a little too close to their chest. It is very annoying. I think it is very anti-consumer. These companies need to just get all the info out. We're apparently like 5 months away from the launch of these things. We need to know when they come out, how much they cost, and when we can pre-order them, and what games can we play day one on these consoles. It's time for us to see that info. So hopefully next month brings that to us. And that's where we are now. And that's my feeling on what we saw from Microsoft today. Tell me what you guys thought. You've heard my thoughts and opinions. I want to hear your own thoughts and opinions. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.